I used to drive down. So I grew up in Malibu, and I would drive down Monday morning at about 3 a.m. because I hate traffic. I would rather drive further, even if I don't have to be in traffic. And then I would shower there, work all day, sleep over at some Airbnb, a different one every week, whatever was the best rate. And then Thursday night, I would drive back. And then Friday would be our day where we kind of do admin stuff. So here I am driving like crazy just because how much time can I get next to this guy because he's a wizard. So we did that for about a year. And then a YouTube video, a random video, 13 fun and fulfilling activities in retirement went off. It got about 15,000 views in a day. And at that time, our podcast was doing about 10,000 a month. And so James is going, wait a second, we just posted a video and it did better than the podcast in a day. Maybe we should do more video stuff. So that's when we started going on the video route, and that's what blew everything up.
I'm a fan. I just want to say that first and foremost of you, of Root. We have deep ties with you guys here at Altruist, and we really appreciate you guys being sort of a part of this Altruist family and believing in us early. Now, before we get into just the whole process, social media, marketing, drawing prospects in, I'm really excited to just get to know you, and for a couple reasons. We've been talking to James on numerous amount of things here at Altruist in regards to content and how to grow that way. But James will always mention your name. He's like, I saw this kid, Ari. He was my first hire.
Yep.
Right? And you joined at a time where the firm wasn't what it is today. Like, I think right now you have over 15 people.
50 people.
50 people at the firm,
That's
right? And you were number one. So first and foremost, introduce yourself, who you are, but then I want to get into those root beginnings, right? At the root of the story, and tell us from your perspective how this growth was.
Yeah, well, first of all, I told you offline, but you just have the best voice that anytime I listen to Advisor Journey and I hear someone else talk, I go, look, it's valuable. I like what they're saying, but it's not the Desarte voice.
Well, I appreciate that.
I'm just going to stay quiet over here for this episode.
But my name is Ari, and what I love to do is I love to make videos for people who are legitimately going, look, I don't know when I'm going to stop working, but I'd love to know when that's possible. Yeah. Now, that's not how it started. It started where I sent a cold email to James from an AOL email address because I went, who's going to respond to someone who's got a Gmail address, who looks like they're a kid, and I still look like I'm a kid. And so I'm like, if I come from an AOL email address, maybe he'll think I'm an older guy. I was trying to think differently. And when I joined and it was just James, which nothing would be possible without James, that's why I'm here today. You know, we were doing Dave Ramsey Smart Vestor leads, if you guys recall that.
Yeah.
Where, you know, Dave Ramsey, if you trust him, you reach out and 5 people get an email saying, Dave Ramsey recommended this advisor, and we all call at the same time. And that's how we started. It was me and James in a little office in Solana Beach, just us two. Our computers would basically be touching, and he still makes fun of me today because I used to drive down. So I grew up in Malibu, and I would drive down Monday morning at about 3 a.m. because I hate traffic. I would rather drive further, even if I don't have to be in traffic. And then I would shower there, work all day, sleep over at some Airbnb, a different one every week, whatever was the best rate. And then Thursday night, I would drive back. And then Friday would be our day where we kind of do admin stuff. So here I am driving like crazy just because how much time can I get next to this guy because he's a wizard. So we did that for about a year. And then a YouTube video, a random video, 13 fun and fulfilling activities in retirement went off. It got about 15,000 views in a day. And at that time, our podcast was doing about 10,000 a month. And so James is going, wait a second, we just posted a video and it did better than the podcast in a day. Maybe we should do more video stuff. So that's when we started going on the video route, and that's what blew everything up.
Yeah, that is crazy. And that right there is the whole episode, right? So I want to just dig in a little bit. You said you grew up in Malibu and you would drive. I feel the same sentiments about Jason Wank. So when Jason invited me to be on the podcast, not only did I think that this was a great opportunity, but to be next to Jason was almost this alternative MBA. Tell me a little bit about James at that time, because when I met Jason, he was like singing the gospel of what Altruist would be, and we've grown into being that thing today, right? Was James saying like, hey, this is going to be really big? Or like, what was his mindset there?
Not at all. And great question. Now, in a really interesting way. So James, the reason I'm laughing right now is I'm thinking back to when we were together. So I would bring my food, meal prep, stuff like that. And I'm weird. I'll have salmon for breakfast if it's the meal prep that I did for the week. If I make 8 salmon, I'm not going to waste it. So he used to always go, Ari, you're making this place smell so freaking bad. Can you just not eat salmon for breakfast? And then I'd be like, okay, I'm going to go in earlier and then eat it so I don't waste the food. And then when he comes in, the smell will be better. And I buy Febreze and all these things. And so James and who he is, oh my gosh, I'm thinking of like 10 stories right now. But what makes James truly is he had no desire. And I think this is what makes Root. He wasn't like, I'm born to be an entrepreneur. I went over to dinner with him and his wife early on, and she said, James would have been a great desk jockey. I said, sorry, I just don't know what that means. And she said, well, he just would have been so great. And he was at this firm for 5 years, and whatever the founder said, he would have done it. So it's not like he was born to be an entrepreneur, which is why he's the best entrepreneur, because most entrepreneurs have an ego out the wazoo, and that is not this guy. And he's like, we're here to help people. And even to this day, people reach out, doesn't matter how much money they have. If they have $1,000, he'll go, yeah, I'm happy to talk to you about your investment strategy. And that's way more noble than me. I'll be like, look, happy to help, but at this current time, we can't serve you because blah, blah, blah. And that's what I love about Altruist, by the way. It's like, you guys are a big reason we've even grown to where we are, because we couldn't do this at scale. I mean, there's, I don't know how many, but when I started with James, I think it was about 25 million in assets. It's been 4 years. We're at 1.1 billion now. So the rate at which we've grown
that is crazy,
is because of James and his ability to go, we don't want to grow too fast. Since the day I started, he said, Ari, one day we're going to be able to put gasoline on the fire. We have never done that. We have yet to do that. We don't pay for ads. We don't do anything. We post videos and we hope people like them. And it is that simple. So going back to your question, James, he was like, I want to help people. If I can help more people doing YouTube videos, I'll do YouTube videos. If I can help more people going to church, I will go to church. It was whatever helps the most.
Amazing.
Wow. Okay. So, just shy of $1 billion in AUM over like a 4 or 5 year period, right? Take us through just sort of like the key milestones of the team, sort of what has changed over that time, what has stayed the same. Like, what does that journey look like? Short version.
Yeah. So right now we have a head of culture, Josh, here, and he's the one changing everything right now, because what he's doing is he's making it so people love their lives. And I tell this story a lot, but my parents were burned by a few different advisors, and that's why I eventually became an advisor. And the way that we think about culture and how we've grown and the principles and things like that, everyone says, yeah, my mission's to help people. And, that's everyone. Like, I'll ask advisors, why do you like your job? Well, I love being able to help people accomplish their goals. That's a great answer, but everyone would say that.
Yeah.
So like, give me an example, a story. And the one I'll often tell is, I worked at a company called Nuveen, and Nuveen is some big tax bond shop, and I hated it. And the reason I decided to eventually leave is one day I got into an elevator, and this guy hops in right after, and he says, just like this, we're halfway there. And I didn't think much of it other than, okay, we're halfway there. We get into the elevator. Does he know what floor I'm on? Like, is this guy creepy? Like, what's going on? And what he meant was, we're halfway there through the week. It's Wednesday. I went, oh my God, this is how this guy lives his life. We're halfway there. It's not like a light, like, oh, it's Friday, happy Friday. That's different. This was like, we're halfway there. I told James, if I ever feel that way, I'm out. I don't care how much money we're bringing in. We're halfway there. I'm excited to go to work. So we talk about being on the balls of our feet. And my parents at one point liked one of their advisors. They weren't a good advisor, but they liked them because my parents make movies for a living. So this advisor was just, oh, I love movies. My mom's like, they're so great, but they weren't that great. But the point of the story is at one point, a different advisor at that firm quit. And guess where you think those clients went? They went to my parents' advisor. So my parents are like, why is our service suffering? I thought we had such a good thing going. Well, what happened is when there's turnover in the advisory space, it's awful. And there's a joke I say on my videos where I'll say, who's Lewis? Where you like your advisor, it's going well. One day you hop into Zoom, and you're like, who the heck are you? Well, what happened is you were passed to the next one. And so now Lewis is your advisor. And that is not a fun way to build a business. And we don't want significant turnover. We've never had an advisor quit. And we're not saying it's because we're the best bosses in the world. We let them choose who they work with. So what's amazing about what we're doing, and to answer your question in a not short way, I apologize, was that our advisors, they're working right now at Vanguard in Schwab. and Fidelity. And then they're watching our videos going, hey, can I work for you guys? But I want to make sure I get to choose who I work with. We go, yeah, that's how it should be. And so the advisor is basically interviewing the prospect to go, do I think you're a good enough Root client? Do I think we're going to be a good fit? And you almost have a secret language with your advisor. Because here's a prospect watching a video trying to work with us. And here's an advisor going, I'd love to give this type of guidance. I just need a home to do it. I don't want to do marketing. I want to do compliance. I don't want to do sales. Prospect just drops on their calendar. So to go to the principles, James, his whole thing is, I want you to wake up on the balls of your feet. And that hasn't changed. But when there's 50 plus team members and we're a virtual company, look, it's hard to know. So we do something right now. Today is called Root Reset. The last Friday of every single month, no one has to work. You can if you want to, but it's just Slack is off, notifications are off. We partnered with June. Are you guys familiar with June at all?
No, please explain.
Yeah, June, they're awesome. So they're basically like corporate benefits to the nth degree. So we said, hey, we're going to pay for everyone's Wi-Fi. You want to go to Core Power Yoga? Yep, reimbursements for that. You want chairs? You want to go to an office that's as beautiful as here? Yep, here's a budget for that. So everyone, we want them to love their lives. Obviously, revenue drives possibilities. We have a $2 million minimum today. That is not our dream. We want to help more people. But along the way, if we can help the team members, so turnover's less, so clients go, I mean, our clients know their client service associate. Most firms, it's just not like that. And that is all James. I wouldn't have ever thought that. I would have thought, James, there's a lot of people on our wait list right now. We have so many people eager to begin working with us. I go, James, let's help those out. No, Ari, it's not going to help culture. It's not long-term. It's not the way to go. So
that is incredible to say no, because a lot of advisors are saying yes to whatever that comes. I wanted to kind of boil down what Chief Growth Officer means, all right? So you've pretty much outlined growth from a firm standpoint and culture. Mm-hmm. Now tell me growth from a marketing prospecting standpoint, and then we'll get into some other phases of growth.
Okay, let's do it. So Q1 of this year, we added, I want to say about 200 million in assets. And as Chief Growth Officer, at the end of the year, what we'll get looked at is how many new assets join the firm at a traditional firm. That is not how it works here. Yeah. At the end of this year, James will go, what was turnover? How happy were our advisors? And was our team overwhelmed? So if we brought on, for example, this year, we have an internal team goal of $1 billion of new assets. But if we bring on 700 million and all advisors give us 5 out of 5s on their surveys, he'd go, Ari, I'm just so proud of you. He wouldn't say that if we brought on 1.2 billion assets. I mean, James drives a Mazda CX-3 as the founder of Root, okay? I mean, I'm a Mazda CX-5 guy, so I'm a little more bouge. But James, when we look at growth from a prospect perspective, the way we do it, it's really simple. It's right now, we have a minimum of $2 million in assets to work with us. We have people who reach out who have 50 million in assets, and they'll work with a certain advisor that likes working with business owners or more tax strategy or things like that. But right now, you go to the website, we have something called the Root Collective today. This is the big game changer. Have you heard about this at all?
No, but I'm seeing a lot of Root content coming out, so please educate me.
I don't blame you. So this Root Collective, there's a funny story. Someone, I think it was with James. James said, hey, I'm going to help you retire. You're in a good spot. They're like, I don't know if I am. James like, no, we are. We're going to do good planning. And he did, and they retired. And they said, James, I'm really mad at you. He said, really? Because we kind of performed a miracle, and you just retired. And they said, well, I just retired early. And my friends are nowhere close to retiring. So who do you want me to hang out with? And he said, are you mad that I haven't given you a best friend? Is that what you're saying? And they said, well, kind of. I'm a stimulating person. I want to hang out with cool people. So that's what launched this Root Collective. And our Root Collective is a free community. Anyone can join. What's amazing about it is we have advisors in here going, hey, if I want to work at Root one day, what do I have to know? We have prospects in here. We have different, oh my gosh, I'm trying to think. Oh, we just had our first meetup of other people who are not working with Root who go, I follow the content, but right now I don't need an advisor because I love doing it and retire in 5 years, then I'll hire you. So here's people meeting up. So this Root Collective is where people get the ecosystem of Root. Yeah. And so before someone reaches out to work with Root, they know everything about us and more. They're just reaching out to say, look, who's the advisor you think I'm going to resonate with? Because my wife wants someone who's going to listen. Mm-hmm. I want someone who's going to go a little bit deeper with me, and I don't want to be annoying. So this Root Collective, right now there's 2,700 members. That's
2,700 members.
Mm-hmm. And they're just fully distributed. Like there's no sort of central hub, right? The team you said is fully distributed, right?
Yes.
So the IRL meetups, the in-person meetups, those are just who's facilitating,
self-organized.
Wow.
That
we do
is
nothing.
Incredible.
Yeah. And then they'll send us notes. hey, I do these little silly jokes about cauliflower of when you do a Roth conversion, it's like eating a little cauliflower. So they'll send me selfies in grocery stores with cauliflower and go, So this Root Collective, that's where a lot of people go, you're right, I really want to see, because they can see what it's like working with the Root client, because people are going in there who are saying, I've been watching Root for 2 years, now I work with Chelsea, she's so awesome, oh my gosh, if there's one thing I could tell everyone, go reach out to work with Root. So it's not like a Google review. It doesn't feel, Google review, it's good, but it doesn't feel as real or natural.
Yeah.
So this Root community is, to me, the game changer that we've done. And then the last thing, and then don't forget your thought because I want to hear it, is we do these live shows, and I do it every week. And what I do is I'll bring on my advisor, and I'll say, okay, I'm going to pretend I'm your most annoying client. I want to retire Desarte. Trust me, I know you love football, but right now we've got to prioritize your health. And so I'll do all these different scenarios, and then people get to see what it's like to work with an advisor. And they'll hear a soundbite and go, my wife's going to like that guy. My husband's going to want that guy. Can we work with him? He's so cool. And so I'm highlighting these advisors. So I'll get off a live show, and I'll have 15 people go, yep, can I start working with them? And so now the advisor's booked the next 3 months.
Yeah, we see this a lot. Actually, our friend Adam Newman, Alex Newman, he runs his own community in Temecula. Ooh. And that's like eHarmony for retirees, right? It's like they're drinking wine, they're having parties, he's getting referrals at these meetups. Do you think that's the next wave? Advisors sort of starting these micro communities so they can go out and be sort of ingrained in their clients' lives holistically, and not just like, this is my financial guy, but these are my people.
Yes, if you have a following. If you don't have a following, it's just so difficult. And a lot of it is luck, which you do make your own luck, like Rob Dyrdek says. But the reality is, like, if we didn't have a big community and no big YouTube following, and we were like, let's start a community, revenue it's just going to be tough. Like, we got to go get clients. And if that means we have to, like, I was never going to be the golf guy. It was not in me. But I was like, you know what? I like making these videos, and I would do it whether people listen or not. And for the first year, we basically, when I started my podcast, Early Retirement, that was not the name. The name was Personal Finance Redefined, the worst name in history, okay? Early Retirement was when I realized, hey, there's a lot of people that want to realize they don't want to work forever. I am never going to retire. I love my job, but I want to know if I'm working because I want to or because I have to, and then I'll do better work. So many people are like, yep, that's where I want to be. And so it took me a year to change the name. For the first year, my fiance is like, why are you talking to the wall every week? Because no one's listening to this. And now it's doing 60,000 downloads a month, and I love doing it. Like, I would do it whether I had to or whatever.
Do you look at your fiance like, look at this,
yeah,
60,000 people? Like,
You like that
talking to the wall now?
Yeah, who's talking to the wall
you
now?
That organic cauliflower?
Well, so the organic cauliflower comment is actually kind of funny because it's like, I wonder how you balance these. You talked a little bit about like you want to ultimately help people who have less than $2 million in assets. But I had a mentor once say to me, and this was great advice, it's like, be generous with your profits, not your revenues. Like, Root is a very clearly, like, with that clientele, you're running a profitable, highly profitable business, which opens you up to being able to do all these other things, which is attracting more clients. Like, you're actually ultimately able to help more people by doing this. Mm-hmm. Like, they're probably, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like, is there a world where you can do all the stuff that you're doing, the sort of like, have culture, you do these retreats, you treat your employees extremely well. Like, can you do that if you didn't have the profitable business that you have today?
No. And the reality is, we want to drop the minimum to help more people, but let's pretend we didn't have as many people as we do reach out. It's anywhere from 5 to 10 people a day going, hey, I have north of 2 million assets, can I help? Well, we have right now, 15 advisors taking on actively new clients. Mm-hmm. So we don't have the capacity to serve everyone. So let's pretend we didn't have that amount of people. We might drop the minimum to $1 million. It's just about, can we serve without dropping the quality of, do our team members love their lives? So to your point, no, but what we could do, and this is something I've talked to James about at length, is, hey, does it make sense for us to drop the minimum, bring on more advisors? And what I love, what makes James is he goes, yeah, but what if the quality's not there? Then people aren't getting the Root experience. So he's investing. We have something called Root University, which is an in-depth training program. When you join Root, you have to go through. And that might be something that we make public, where before you want to join Root, you have to have proven you've gone through the university, passed the exams, which are way harder than like the CFP and things like that, just so that by the time you're actually working with clients, James is like, hey, that's what lets him sleep at night, is the short answer.
This is some sort of like a hiring and talent development that I feel like you guys are steps ahead, light years ahead in many cases of firms, even of similar size, where it's like you have to be a talent magnet because to sustain your growth and the quality of service, you need people. So the university, there's the, obviously all the education that you're putting out on the content for clients, but now can you just give us a little sneak peek about what James is thinking for the sort of like the employer brand marketing?
100%. So what James is thinking, he has this new Root Ready show, and the Root Ready show is basically, if you want to work at Root one day, there's more than do you have the competency? Are you a CFP? How many doctors would you never let touch your body that are MDs? Probably a lot. And that's how he looks at it as well. So he's saying, if you want to work at Root one day, you have to know how to manage your time. You have to know that when markets are down, this is the time to build the relationship with the client. So here's how you would navigate that conversation. So what he's doing is thinking, okay, how many team members can we add, knowing that there's a lot of interest? What he's brilliant at is he's not blind to the fact that right now YouTube's doing really well. Tomorrow, if YouTube said Ari's joke on cauliflower is so bad, prospects would, it would dry up and it would be a problem. Now, the good news is we also have James's channel, we have the collective, we have the live show. So we have a few moving pieces, but right now things are going well. So we want to take advantage of that from a revenue perspective, but at the same time, we want to make sure if there's awesome talent out there, we're not missing out on them. So James, the reason he's driving a Mazda CX-3 is because if he were to go get the Range Rover, that would mean 2 less advisors could join, and therefore he'd go, wow, that's people we could have helped in a really strong way. So right now there's, I want to say around 50 team members. Maybe there's around 70 or 80 by the end of the year. Maybe if it turns out, and this is the crazy thing about our business, if one YouTube video really goes off, it really changes things.
Talk to me about that.
So, yeah.
Like, what does that mean? So one YouTube video, tell me about this wave or this effect.
Yes.
You record your video, you're talking to the wall, right?
Yep.
And you're like, man, I'm going to put it out. Boom. Got the title. You got the thumbnail.
Yeah.
You got all the components that generate a viral video. It goes viral. How many views is that, and what happens after that?
Yeah, so the most popular video that we've ever done was about Social Security, and we learned a good lesson from this, which if there's anything you take from today, I hope this is the big one. You put out a video of Social Security, you'll get a lot of people who reach out. You'll get people living off Social Security who are not our target audience today, and you'll get people who truly want to optimize at 62 or 67 or whatever. Then there's my most popular video is I'm 60 with all my money pre-tax. That's who I want to reach out. I want someone who's 60 with $2 million in a 401k going, what the heck do I do? So we are never going to put out best new credit card of 2024 or 2025. That could get us millions of views. We are very confident we could have millions of subscribers. We don't want that. That is not the goal. And you'd think if you have a lot of subscribers, you automatically get views. Nope, does not work that way. When you have we have a channel, we have hundreds of thousands of subscribers, it does not guarantee more views than if you posted a video tomorrow. And that is the algorithm today. Now, it will notify your current subscriber base, but the name of the game is getting new people to reach out. So when I put out the video of, hey, I put out one, I think it's I'm 62 with 2.8 million in an active 401k. How much can I spend in retirement? I think that was the exact title. Very targeted, obviously. So if that video goes viral, all of a sudden, imagine I don't have advisors that can take on, then it's just momentum dies. So we need enough advisors to be able to support the amount of interest. But at the same time, there was a 3-month period where we didn't have one really big video. And we were okay because still a good amount of people reached out from previous content. But it's always making me as the growth guy go, okay, how are we putting out the right content with the amount of advisors we have?
Yeah, it's like a capacity planning exercise.
But if you have 2,000 people that reach out, let's take this example. Of that 2,000, what is like average conversion that will come into clients?
Yeah, so
right?
we
Because
have,
you're filtering them.
Yeah.
So
our process is, I honestly think, unlike anything in the industry, the way it works is you have what's called an explore call with Jay, who's our client success manager. And then he goes, so are you ready to work with Root? And they're like, well, are you going to show me a plan or anything? Nope, we have YouTube videos that do that. Are you ready to hand over? Yep, the $3 million you worked for your whole life. We're now going to enter our advisory structure with you. AUM, that's how we work with clients today. Are you ready to begin? And we don't show them anything. You want to see a sample, go to YouTube. We have plenty of content there. Most people, I would say right now, I think our conversion of Explore to actually become a client is about 65%.
That's
and so
wonderful.
The reason it's not, in my opinion, even higher is because we haven't shown advisors in an even better way. Today, someone reaches out and goes, who do you think I should work with? Who's going to be a good fit for me? Some people have a preference, gender, religious, location. Other people go, I don't care. Who's the best person I should work with? And so if we can highlight the advisors in a more effective way, which is the new thing we're about to launch literally in a week, it's going to be called a priority path, which means you skip the call with an intro call. Are you ready to start working with Root? Assets transfer before you've spoken to the advisor. You have to know Root this well. You have to be in the community. I want to make it, and this is going to happen in about a month, where if you're a prospect who wants to potentially work with Root, you're sending in a Loom video. Why do you think you're a good fit to work with Root? That way, the advisor can watch that and go, I can already tell I'm going to like them. Or I can tell, you know what, they have 5 million assets, but I'm going to look at their name and I'm going to be just so sad because they're going to ask me a million questions and it's just going to be a pain to work with them. So right now, this process is at around 65%. I don't want it to be too high, because if it's too high, that means my advisor is taking on anyone. And we all know there's some people who are just not good fits. But I don't want it so low that they're like, well, Ari, they're not my favorite client ever, so I'm not going to work with them. Well, that's too picky. So that's a tough balance.
That is incredible. 65% is, any advisor would be like, yeah, I like those odds, right?
65% with, no upfront, call, or really it's like 65% say yes or no on the spot.
Correct.
Can we talk about this confidence? You said something just a moment ago. You're like, we are very confident about our videos. I like when people talk like that. Like, let it just hang out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what makes you confident in that? Like, I think a lot of advisors want to create content. They want to be on YouTube, but then in the journey, they kind of say this is too hard. They put their heads down and like, nobody's going to watch this. And they kind of talk themselves out of similar success. Maybe not at the scale that you guys have had it, but I believe that a lot of advisors can be discovered online, but they quit, right? They're digging, they're going, and then they quit right before something could have popped off. So talk to us about earning that confidence in video. Have you always created social media reels, videos like this, or how was that earned?
Yeah, so no. I started when I was with James as his client service associate. So I'm just opening accounts, transferring assets. Then I became his associate, learned about it. And when I was learning about it, this is before I had my CFP or anything, I was watching, and now we have had some traffic come in, and I go, James, this is so brilliant. You were asked 5 times today, should we do a conversion? And you just made a video. And so if a client asks you about that, you can just send them to that video. So what I would tell advisors is, if no one watches any of your YouTube videos, they're still so valuable. You can send them to clients, and as you grow, they're gonna get to feel like they're a part of you. What makes Root is almost every week, most people who are clients are still listening to James and I, because we're putting out, hey, yep, I just joined a new soccer team, and here's what I'm doing that makes my life so interesting, which it's not that interesting, but I try to keep it engaging.
You're eating salmon at 8 a.m.
But it's really all video all the time.
All the time.
Guys. So like, how do you develop a content calendar? Do you even think about it that way? Or you're just like, what happened this week? Let's act on that.
I'm an activation energy guy, which sounds really woo-woo. But what that means is, like, you guys have the setup here. I have this setup, and I use everything. I use what's called a GoV sensor, Govee, and they're not a sponsor, but GoV. I put my hand over the sensor, and when I walk in to my office, the lights rise, the camera gets turned on, the mic is on. So if I'm speaking to a client about anything and I have an idea, right when I'm off, I'm going to go record. So it's not me going, okay, I'm going to plan and here's 6 episodes. Sometimes I'll do that. And once a month, I will sit down and I'll say, hey, here's a bunch of videos I'm going to record. Now, my style is very different to James, and there's no right or wrong. But James is so brilliant, and he wants to make sure every technical aspect is being portrayed correctly. I could not do that if I tried to. So I look at the camera, and I go, here's the story. And I go, boom. And if I say something wrong, I'll say, oh, editor, I'm so sorry. I'll try to make a joke for him, because the editor, he's doing the magic, and we have an amazing editor. And so I need him to love his life too, so he doesn't fire us. So I'm trying to make him laugh. I'm always thinking content-wise, if no one were to see this, was it worth it? And I'm thinking in my head, this is going to my future documentary that my future kids might watch. So that's like, if no one watches, it's still value. Number 2, I go, look, if 2 people listen, that was more effective than me having a conversation with 1 person. So efficient time. But at the beginning, I will not lie. There were times where I was never going to quit, because it's just, some people say that, but I was never going to quit because I saw it work for James. but I knew the timing was different for everyone. So the first year of just the podcast, the whole year, I think got about 1,092 listens the first year. That's really minimal. I mean, every week, I don't know what that average is out to, but like terrible. And then I switched the name to Early Retirement, and then it started to grow. And so that was not my content. I believe my content was probably pretty good at the beginning. I'd say I'm better now, but honestly, you just got to stick with it. The tough thing is if you do stick with it and you never evaluate and analyze, hey, here's what works. I didn't start with, I'm 62 with 2.7 million. How much can I spend? I started with, here's why Roth IRAs are so great. I'm like, that didn't work. Okay, now go to this. Now go to this. So I'm getting very targeted. I used to interview people on the street doing the viral stuff you see of, hey, how'd you become so wealthy and what were your tips? And what I found is the people that reached out, and this is what's really fascinating, they weren't really great prospects because they had a lot of ego to them. They were like, I want to be a millionaire. I saw your video. It helped me become that. I kind of like something you said there. The people that reach out now, they're teachers. They're, hey, we work blue collar jobs and now we've got $2 million. And so I'm talking exactly to who I want to reach out. So the beautiful thing about content is we had one advisor say, hey, I want to start doing content. And I was like, great, we do support that. We will help if that's of interest. And they're like, we want to do specifically heavy equity comp. I just think it's not looked at enough in our industry. I said, great points. Is that who you want to work with? He said, no, I just think there's a lot of value there. I said, well, if you make a great video, someone's going to reach out and go, that's what I want. Well, we don't have today someone who's like, my sole reason I love this is equity comp. Now we're getting more people who have specific specializations, whether it be federal employees or equity comp or whatever. But you got to be careful on the content you make because if it works, those people will reach out.
Right. So it's like, who do you want to work with?
Yep.
What content do they want to hear? But then there's this third piece, which is the discoverability. And that's like, I mean, coming back to the name change, like, how did you, what was that, a stroke of insight, like in the shower, or like, how did you get to that, the name change?
Yeah, I wish I could tell you an exact moment, but I do remember my brother said, hey, this name's terrible. And that was at the beginning. And I said, I agree, but I need something. And then I remember looking, and retirement was what we were always doing. And that's honestly where the most money was. So we thought, hey, this is where we can help people drive revenue. And then a lot of people reached out going, hey, if I want to retire early, how much do I need? And that's when I went, the name is Early Retirement, because these are people that are working really hard. They're saving and investing really well. They're not these people with tons of attitude or ego. I used to think, I want to work with athletes. That would be so cool. And then I got one athlete who's like, I want you to pick me up from the airport and do my laundry and this or that. I went, okay, this is not for me. I thought that's what I wanted, but it's not. And so from a name perspective, what I found about early retirement that I was worried about is I went, are people going to reach out who are 20, who are like, I want to retire early one day, or the FIRE movement? And what I'm finding is it's just not the case if you're speaking very specifically. So I'll start a podcast going, look, I get it. Okay, you're 40. Right now you have a really healthy income. Maybe you're a Henry, high earner, yada, yada. Maybe you're actually 50 right now and you're like, look, I just want to know when work becomes optional. I've got $1 million in my 401k. I get it. So this episode's for you. So if you're listening right now and you're like, wait, I'm 65 or I'm 30 and I just started, look, I don't want to waste your time. You really probably shouldn't listen to this. If you really like my dumb cauliflower jokes, go for it. But honestly, there's other episodes that I think you should listen to. So this is only for these people. Boom, very targeted.
So I suspect this feels very natural for you to do the video now. You have the setup. You just hand over the sensor. The lights go down. The lights go on. Like, that's amazing.
I
want that too.
Oh yeah.
But if you had to kind of abstract what you do out into like a formula or like a step by step, like if someone wanted to try to recreate your style of video, like what would those things be?
Good question. Okay. So first thing is, without an emotional connection, there's no point of making the video. And for YouTube, there's what's called a CTR, which is click-through rate. If someone doesn't watch past 3 minutes, you may as well not make the video. I mean, it is truly, it's just not worth it. The views, it's not worth it ever. And so some people are making great content. They're like 6-7 minutes in, I'm really great. I'm like, hey, no one's probably listening. That's just the sad reality. So if I'm making a video, let's call it, I just put out one last week that's at about 100,000 views. And I said, 3 surprising statistics that will make you want to retire early. I honestly go to Claude AI, which I find is better than ChatGPT, which is why I use it and pay for it. And they help me with titles. So then I'll kind of tweak it to what I think makes most sense, but I'll use that. And I'll start it by going, the first statistic is this. Not like, welcome to today's video. Here's 3 surprising statistics. that feels like I'm not talking to a person. So I'm like, hey, I get it. You're 50 right now. You're wondering, hey, what if I could retire early? So just dream for a second. I know it's going to feel weird. You're going to watch this video. I'm asking you to close your eyes. How weird is this YouTube guy, right? Okay, close your eyes. What's the first thing you would do if you didn't have to work? Okay, now while your eyes are closed, I'm going to tell you a quick story. And now in my head, I'm thinking, this has got to be a good story because I need 3 minutes at least. But if they're 2 minutes in and they're hooked, they're probably going to keep watching. And then I'll say, and this is a little cringe, but you do have to say, look, the last statistic, I'm not saying it's going to blow your mind, but it's going to be something. So I'm not saying this just to say it. And maybe because I like you guys, maybe I'll just say that one next. In fact, I will. And then I'll do it right there. So there's some teasing and playing, which I've learned how to kind of do that, but it's not difficult. So to answer your question of, okay, what's the structure? The structure is you need some story in some capacity with every single episode because you're attracting people that are resonating with you and your philosophy. And I'll do the one consistently where I'll say there's a phrase that we'll talk about when it comes to retiring early called recreational employment. Are you working because you want to or because you have to? Now, if you didn't have to work, just tell me in the comments, what the heck would you do? And that's where the comments are going off and blah, blah, blah. But when people say like, comment below 5 tips or DM me this, I find it feels too cringe. So I'm thinking, what's the most authentic and natural way? And sometimes I'll pause the video and I'll actually and I'll tell my editor, I'll go, leave this in. I'm gonna burp right now. If I can feel a literal burp coming, I go, guys, look, I'm just hanging out with you, okay? I'm not some super finance guy, we're just hanging out. And sometimes I'll put a typo in on purpose. Mm-hmm. And the reason I'll do that is I'll be like, guys, look, I make mistakes too. My editor makes mistakes. We're not some perfect people, but they're like, oh, I get you. Mm-hmm. It's not like a talking head of a TED Talk. So what I would tell everyone is if there is a story that you can think of, bring that into every episode and repeat it often because you never know if someone's watching you for the first time. And if they don't hear that story, they won't stay connected. So that's number one. Number two, YouTube is a baby. It needs to be fed a very specific way. You need to post at certain times. You need to have the right thumbnail. If you're spending $300 on a thumbnail, it's worth it, okay? Those are the things that most people overlook because they go, what I said was so brilliant. I'm sure it was brilliant. There's advisors 1,000 times more brilliant than I am. But I'm the one getting seen because I'm doing these types of things. James and I were looking at, okay, how important is the thumbnail? I mean, we're probably having 10 different iterations in testing and that's the stuff that's not as sexy that really makes the difference.
I would say, first of all, you guys are geniuses. I'm getting a crash course on how to perfect my video game. You know what I mean?
YouTube strategy now.
Which is amazing. But I think there's a part that advisors overlook, and it's a really deep knowledge of their ICP. Right? Jason has been ringing his bell since I've been working with him. Like, man, pick one client that you want to work with and go all in on that person. And it seems like you do a great job, and it's easier to communicate the videos through the videos when you do that. You see a lot of advisors, they're switching their ICP every year. Like, oh, I work with equity comp people. Now I work with, car dealership owners, and now I'm going to work with retirees, right? So if you just pick a person that you love to work with, go really deep on them, you can create those stories, right? And you can speak to them, and that shines through on the video. So I think that's just in the beginning of those first two things, it's really get deep with this person. Even if it's informational interviews, figure out what they like to do. You're walking through Costco, maybe that greeter is recreationally employed, right? Ask some questions, really get to know them, and then you'll be a better content creator.
Yeah, there's that voice again, just so everyone knows. Look at how beautiful it is. I was listening to that.
You said something a moment ago, which was, you're using your channel to bring in new subscribers.
Yes.
So do you think that you have to constantly, and you also said you find a story and repeat it. So do you need to be constantly creating new material, or how are you balancing new content with sort of this drumbeat of, your brand message?
Yeah. No to new material. Now this doesn't make it as fun for some people, but I'm 60 with 3.1 million. I'm 58 with 2.7 million. I'm 57 with 2.9 million. I will make those, and those are real clients. I'll change their name. I'll do a case study. I'll make it entertaining. We actually once tested something. This was a good lesson where we were like, what if we had a real person on the show? What if it was a guest of someone who wants to retire early? Maybe that would feel more real. And what we found is they sucked, because people can be boring. And it's better when we're explaining what they would love. Our client wants to travel and they can't wait to spend all their time with just at church and volunteering versus I'm gonna volunteer and I'm really excited, and it just doesn't work. And if you create any boredom in a video, people will drop. It's like, do you know how much good stuff is out there that they could be watching that's not you? So from a perspective of, okay, who's your audience? Like, yes, mine's early retirement specific. I will do the same story. I'll make the same videos. It makes it less entertaining, I'll say sometimes for yourself, but I'm like, it's really not about you. And the reason you're doing this is to bring in new leads. So I'll have certain clients go, hey, Ari, to be honest, I'm not really watching as many of your new videos because it's just the same case studies. And I'll go, well, then it kind of did its job. And if you want more entertaining concepts, well, I'm going to think of new ideas that could do that, but I'm prioritizing the business. So it's not sorry, but it's, hey, if you want to keep listening, and I think James does a way better job of this. He'll do the latest HSA strategy, and here's how you can make sure that this new donor advised fund technique could be used, and he likes it and he's good at it. The truth is, I'm not that good at it. I'm better at doing the stories and going, look right now, and there's a common one I'll tell. I had a woman who reached out and she said, I'm really upset I had $3 million. And I thought to myself, I could have her on the show. I mean, that's a big soundbite right there. Who's upset that they have $3 million? And I thought, no, I think it's gonna be better if I tell the story. And when I was talking about it, I'm thinking back because I'm looking at her in my head right now. I said, hey, why are you upset you have $3 million? First of all, a lot of people are gonna be like, hey, that's kind of rude because there's people who'd love to have $3 million, you know? And she said, well, I'm not in good health right now and I can't do what I wanna do. I said, then why are you upset you have $3 million? She goes, because I didn't need $3 million. I needed about 2 to 2.5 to do what I wanted to do. I just worked 4 more years and now I have sciatica, so I can't really hike. I went, okay, well, that's powerful. And that kind of defeats the purpose of what everyone does. And we have all these phrases. One of them is called goalpost planning, which is 1 more year, I'm gonna retire, 1 more bonus, 1 more project. How often has you said that? Please stop this video. Go ask your wife if you've ever done this. Go ask your husband, have you been pushing it off 1 more year? And everyone's like, that resonates. You made me take action. So I say, hey, you're watching this video to get educated, but I'm expecting action. So I'll joke that I'm the meanest advisor on YouTube, not because I'm actually mean. My dad used to say growing up, I'm the meanest dad, because I'd say, why aren't I taller? Or why can't I be faster? And he'd say, because life's unfair and I'm the meanest there is, so just too bad. And so I'll say, look, I could just make videos and make you feel good, but the reality is you might need more. And sometimes I have to tell you to go back to work 3 more years. So when you do retire, you're not hesitant to buy an appetizer, because if you've ever felt that way, it's not a fun feeling. So I'm creating a real emotional connection with these people. And then the community, I'm communicating with them. So by the time they reach out, now they're like, hey, can you please tell Ari I'm doing fine, cauliflower, I'm eating it. My advisor has a deep connection with them. We'll have prospects reach out, and the first thing they'll say to a new advisor they're gonna work with is, so how much cauliflower should I eat? Which means how much of a Roth conversion should I do?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a secret link.
Real quick, one of the things that I love to do, I wanted to play a little bit of roulette with you actually and ask you a quick question, but let's do that and then I gotta get your last takes.
Okay.
So, YouTube or TikTok?
YouTube.
Why?
Long form content drives a longer connection. TikTok, you can get more leads. My brother kills on TikTok. We've experimented with TikTok. My early retirees, prospects, they're there. I know they're there. But what I find is it's not as deep of a dive. So if they do book a call, they don't know me well enough, and therefore our conversion will be less.
Man, YouTube.
There you have it.
There you have it. Okay. For advisors that are listening right now and they want to replicate sort of the content strategy that you have in place, the growth strategy that you're thinking about, the path, the fast track, what did you call it?
Yeah, priority path.
Priority path, all of these things. How do they start? Give them the 1, 2, 3 on, if they watch this video and they're like, hey, I love those ideas. Here's a 1, 2, 3 from Ari on how I can replicate that in my business.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. So number 1, you have to be okay with people who are gonna say, I wanna see a one-time plan, I wanna show, you're gonna build a process for me. You have to be okay saying, nope, I have examples of that. If you wanna see that, I don't send a report, you can go watch this video here. If you want, you can make that an unlisted video. So it doesn't have to be public, but that's number 1, is you have to have your process shown in a video way, so that's just easy. Number 2 is you do need activation energy, because if you don't have everything set up easily, you're just gonna film less. It's almost like when you go to buy something online and then you're like, well, it turns out I got a notification via text from something else, so now, yeah, I'll get back to it, and then you don't buy it. So you need it to be easy for you. And then number 3 is you've got to be dialed in. I mean, dialed in on exactly who you're going to be excited to work with. If you're excited to work with someone who's 30 because there's big equity comp, if the revenue's less, it's going to do better for you long term because you love doing it. I was excited. I had 100 clients at one point who have since been passed off to some of my advisors through a certain process so that I could focus on what I'm doing now. And those clients, I mean, think about transitioning someone. It's not always the easiest thing to do. They're like, Ari, I'm completely in touch with Root, what you're doing. I was surprised you're even working with me. So there will be a point, which is why I'm saying this, when you're going to be working with someone, if you're an advisor listening, and that prospect is going to see you make videos, and they're going to think, hey, are you making videos or are you watching my money? Like, what the heck is happening right now? And so there will be a point strategically where you'll have to decide, okay, and obviously your business model can change if you do flat or hourly or whatever, but you'll have to decide, if my prospect were to watch this video right now, will they feel more connected to my firm? Because if James and I didn't do the content we do in this style, and one of our advisors decided to leave, which hasn't happened yet, but of course could happen in the future, is that person going to want to follow that advisor because of that deep connection? Or are they more in Root's ecosystem so large now? I think they're with Root. I think they probably love their advisor too, but it's, hey, I'm connected to what Root's doing. And so I think making sure that when you're making any video or doing any piece of content or deciding, for example, you could do one-time plan. You could show someone this. But what most people do is they show the plan and then they're like, okay, great. I kind of see how you work now. I don't know if I really need this. Or it's like, your time is too valuable.
Yeah.
My last question is just, where do you see your career going?
I don't know to the degree that I want to be just this media guy, but we've had some inklings of, do we do something with Max? Do we do something with NBC? We could do that, but once again, I go back to the prospects. Let's pretend I went on NBC tomorrow. And even though I look super young, which kind of connects back to how I had to even get established working with early retirees. I mean, how weird is that? I look like I'm 10 and I'm having people who are 60 with $3 million go, you're my guy. That was like, I didn't even think that could ever happen. And when you are confident and do it well and have a story, it works. So all of that, I call it head trash. Get that out of the way. If you're listening going, I'm too young to start, or I don't look like I would be the person. All that's fake. That's just in your head. But the reality is, if I went on NBC tomorrow and we brought on, and people went, you're the guy, I don't know why you are, but it's just something about your stupid haircut. And they said, you're my guy. It would only create a bigger problem because then more leads and we don't have enough advisors to service them. And so there'd basically be no reason to do it other than, okay, great, I get ego clout, which I don't need. So because of that, I'm a human. I like when people go, hey, I resonate with your content, but I want to be wise with my time. So because of that, let's pretend we had 1,000 advisors that James all said are good to go. I go, how do I get everywhere to help? I mean, there's so many people we can help. Today, that doesn't make as much sense. So what I'm doing right now is today's Friday. So Wednesday, I brought on our head of talent onto my live show to say, if you want to work at Root, here's the guy you're going to talk to. Here's how the process works. So we had people who reached out, who applied because of that. And so I'm the growth guy, but part of the growth is internal as well. Yeah. So long term, I do love making videos. It's really fun for me. I'll see a video online. I just saw there's a channel I follow. I think it's called Renaissance Fitness or something like that. It's a big channel. This guy is super buff and he does, weightlifting stuff. And it'll say exercise scientist critiques, the guy who's putting his head in the ice water with the lemon right now that everyone knows. Ashton, okay? So I'll go like, should I do financial advisor critiques Dave Ramsey? Okay, I could do that. Maybe that's more viral content, get more subscribers. Once again, though, does that really help the lead process?
Viral isn't always better.
It's not. So I'm like, I'll get lost in that when things are going well, like they are right now, which we're fortunate. I'll think of a new idea, which sometimes is the stupidest thing I could do. I should just keep doing what works.
Man, we can sit here and talk all day. We really appreciate you coming on the show. Next time, we got to get you and James. I don't know if we can swing that and get you both in the office, but I feel like every time we do this, it's a timestamp on growth, right? And because we serve growth-oriented advisors, which we call the modern advisors, Root defines that. You guys are the people we point to. Like, this is an example of what's possible if you set your mind on growth and if you do it with altruist. So thank you for being here, man. We really appreciate it. We'll keep checking in to see how everything is going, and maybe we'll see you on one of those big shows. Maybe we'll see you at 80 employees, and we can't wait to have you come back and tell that story.
Thanks so much for coming in, Ari. And thanks for everybody listening. You can find The Advisor Journey on YouTube, all the podcast platforms. It's been awesome having you in.
Thank you. Whatever you guys want.
Thank you for listening to The Advisor Journey by Altruist. Brokerage-related products and services are provided by Altruist Financial LLC, a member of FINRA/SIPC. Results may vary. Altruist and its affiliates do not provide tax or legal advice.